subscribe for more.
I never imagined the first moment I'd meet my son would feel like a quiet eviction from my own life. The delivery room smelled like antiseptic and nervous hope. Machines beeped softly, steady and indifferent. My wife, Eleanor, lay exhausted but radiant, clutching the tiny bundle against her chest. I stood beside her, hands shaking, heart pounding, trying to memorize everything at once. His face, his breath, the weight of becoming a father. For months, Eleanor and I had talked about names. Or at least, I thought we had. Long drives, late nights, lists scribbled on the fridge. We argued, laughed, compromised. I liked traditional names. She leaned modern. We said we'd decide together when we saw him. That was our agreement. A simple one. The nurse stepped forward with a clipboard, smiling politely. "What's the baby's name?" she asked. I opened my mouth, ready to suggest the final two we'd narrowed it down to. Eleanor spoke first. Clear. Certain. "His name is Julian." The word landed heavy in the room. Julian. Not on our list. Not even close. I looked at Eleanor, waiting for her to glance at me, to explain, to include me somehow. She didn't. She just smiled down at our son like the decision had always been settled. I swallowed. "Julian," I said softly, forcing calm. "We hadn't." She cut me off without looking up. "It fits him," she said. I knew when I saw him. The nurse nodded and wrote it down. Something inside me tightened. This wasn't about the name, I told myself. It was exhaustion, hormones, stress, not the moment to push. I told myself I could talk to her later. I told myself a lot of things. As the nurse finished, she paused, leaned in closer than necessary. Her voice dropped, barely a whisper, meant only for me. "Sir," she said gently, "are you aware of who Julian is named after?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, eyes flicking toward Eleanor, then back to me. "I thought you should know," she murmured, then stepped away as another nurse entered, the moment dissolving into noise and movement. My chest felt hollow. I stood there, useless, while questions piled up. Named after who? Eleanor hadn't mentioned honoring family. No grandfather, no uncle. The name echoed in my head, unfamiliar and suddenly sharp. Later, when the room quieted and Eleanor drifted to sleep, I stepped into the hallway. I needed air. I needed to think. I replayed the nurse's words again and again. Awareness crept in, slow and unwelcome. There had been signs. Long before today, Eleanor's phone always face down. Late nights at work that didn't add up. A name she once mentioned casually, years ago, attached to a story about a friend from her volunteer days. Julian Hart. I remembered now, too clearly. When I returned, Eleanor was awake, scrolling on her phone with one hand, our son asleep in the bassinet. I closed the door quietly. "Who is Julian?" I asked. She stiffened. "What? The name?" I said. "You didn't choose it with me." And the nurse asked if I knew who he was named after. Silence stretched. Eleanor's jaw tightened. She didn't deny it. That told me everything. "He was someone I knew," she said finally. "A long time ago." "How long ago?" She exhaled sharply. "Before you. During. It doesn't matter." It mattered. The calm I'd practiced slipped, replaced by a cold clarity. "Is he the father?" I asked. Her eyes flashed. "Don't be ridiculous." But she didn't answer right away. And in that pause, something fundamental broke. Not loudly, just enough. "I named him," she said, defensive now. "I carried him. I went through hell bringing him into this world." "And I was what?" I replied quietly. "A witness." She turned away. That was her answer. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I looked at my son, at the tiny chest rising and falling, and felt two truths collide. I loved him instantly, and I realized I had been written out of a decision that defined us both. The next morning, while Eleanor slept, I requested a paternity test. Routine, I told the staff. Just to be sure. When the results came back days later, they confirmed what my gut already knew. Julian wasn't mine by blood. I sat alone in my car when I read it. No tears. Just a deep, aching stillness. I thought about loyalty, about vows, about how easily a life can be redirected without your consent. I confronted Eleanor once, calmly, presented the facts. She cried. She explained. She justified. I listened, then told her I'd filed for separation. Not out of spite, out of self-respect. I stayed in Julian's life for a while, until the lawyers advised otherwise. Walking away from him hurt more than walking away from her. But I knew staying in a lie would destroy us all. People think betrayal is explosive. It isn't. It's quiet. It's a name on a clipboard, a whisper in a hallway, a truth you were never meant to hear. I didn't lose my family that day. I learned I never truly had won. And that knowledge, as brutal as it was, finally gave me something honest to stand on.